Dear WWE Universe, about 8 months ago, I took a leave of absence and within a few weeks, unexpectedly, had the opportunity of a lifetime. I had the privilege to return as the co CEO and chairwoman of the board of WWE. I cannot put into words just how proud I am to have led what I consider to be the greatest company in the world, working alongside a remarkable leadership team and one of the strongest executives I have known in my co-CEO, Nick Khan. Our founder, Vince McMahon, has returned as executive chair and is leading an exciting process regarding strategic alternatives. And with Nick's leadership and Paul Triple H Levesque as chief content officer, I am confident WWE is in the perfect place to continue to provide unparalleled creative content and drive maximum value for shareholders. WWE is in such a strong position that I've decided to return to my leave and take it one step further with my official resignation. I look forward to cheering on WWE from the other side of the business where I started when I was a little kid as a pure fan. I will always remain dedicated to WWE. I truly love our company, our employees, our superstars, and our fans, and I am grateful to all our partners. Thank you for everything. Then, now, forever, together, Steph. That was Stephanie McMahon posting on Twitter just under an hour ago as I record this at 6:36 p.m. Eastern Time on January 10, 2023. This is something else. And not just what's going on here, that's also the name of this show. Something Else with Arya, episode number 020. And I gotta tell you, this was not the plan for this show. I had some other things that I was really looking to do, but I was not planning on doing a show about you know, this, because Vince returned to power on Friday, and I figured by the time Tuesday or Wednesday came along, everyone has said everything that you could possibly say about it. Why on earth would I need to do more than just, hey, mention that it's a thing? And that was the plan. And then Stephanie resigned, and oh boy. So, uh, so we're gonna talk about that today. And I've got some other big news that it affects me personally, and I'll get to that here probably in about half an hour or so. I have put out a call if anybody has any strong opinions and wishes to join in. Feel free to let me know and I'll add them on. I'm not expecting it, but hey, you never know. So let's just talk about everything that's going on. So, as Stephanie alluded to, and as most of us know, last April, Stephanie, well, they said she took a leave of absence. Some people say that she was fired. Some people say that she quit after an argument with Vince, where it came out later that she knew all about all the NDAs that came about, and they had an argument about it. And well, it's Vince's company. And then Vince retired in July, and Stephanie came back. Her and Nick Khan took over as the CEOs of the company, and there we are to move on with our lives. WWE had gotten stronger creatively. Definitely even a bad show like, Raw the last few weeks, it's still been a lot better than it was. But I think we all knew it was kind of a matter of time. It was a matter of if, not when, Vince would do his hostile takeover or hostile retakeover, I guess, of the company. And as we go back, and this, like everything happened so quickly. And obviously, I discussed this a few weeks ago that the only thing keeping Vince out of this company was if the cable networks, if Fox or if NBC Universal said, don't bring him back or we're canceling the contract. And well, obviously, they have, if they thought about it, it hasn't gone that far yet. But the news, once it started rolling, It has rolled really quickly. First, back on Thursday, reported in a Wall Street Journal article, Vince said that he plans to return to the WWE in order to pursue a sale of the company. McMahon is said to have notified WWE that he will not, as majority owner, support or approve any media rights deal or sale if he was not named executive chairman to lead a review process. In a press release on Thursday, Vince was quoted as saying that WWE is entering a critical juncture in its history with upcoming media rights negotiations coinciding with the increased industry-wide demand for quality content and live events, and with more companies seeking to own the intellectual property on their platforms. The only way for WWE to fully capitalize on this opportunity is for me to return as executive chairman and support the management team, the negotiations for our media rights, and to combine that with a review of our strategic alternatives. My return will allow WWE, as well as any transaction counterparties, to engage in these processes, knowing that they will have the support of the controlling shareholder. Now, as has been mentioned prior to this, and as I was just listening to Lance Storm on Figure Four Daily, this was a game of chicken. Ignoring the whole selling the company thing, Vince was never going to sit here and not allow the company to do a new TV deal before it expired next year. Like, I'm sorry, no matter what you say, no matter what's going on, Vince was not going to allow this company to just lose both of its TV deals because he's being so stubborn and wouldn't allow them to happen. But WWE apparently just kind of they called his bluff, I guess. Or they didn't call his bluff. They they didn't so much allow it. It's Vince's company. Vince forced himself back onto the board. He brought back George Barrios and Michelle Wilson, which is one of those things that has, like, people talked about it, but it's like it's been so overwhelmed by all this other news that's going on that it's not even funny here. Like George Barrios and Michelle Wilson were the ones that negotiated the billion-dollar TV deals with NBC Universal and with Fox a few years ago. And Vince fired both of them. And he fired both of them over the future direction of the WWE network, among other things. But he's brought them back basically to be in his pocket. And when that happened, they had to let go of 3 members of the board of directors, which they did. And in the process, 2 others quit. And on top of that, I mean, now we have the Stephanie thing where she just quit as well. So that is eliminating 6 board members out of 12 in the last 5 days and replacing 3 of them. And I mean, I'm sure, especially when you hear, or especially when you know these about big company boards of directors, you tend to end up putting people on that work for other companies that, are management in other big Fortune 500 companies. So it's like, I imagine it will not be difficult to put 3 more people on the board. And just go from there. Heck, Vince, if he really wanted to, could bring back the 3 that he got rid of, put himself, George Barrios, and Michelle Wilson on it. And so we're going through everything that's going on here. The government is still probing into Vince. The lawsuits that were going against the company are still out and going. As a matter of fact, PW Insider today, before this whole thing with Stephanie even came out, Dave Shear at PW Insider reports that a lawsuit, let's see here, a WWE shareholder derivative suit that was filed last June after the NDA allegations against Vince McMahon surfaced, reported this update here. That's reported on PW Insider. We've been working with the company for several months and have received several internal documents, which we have been reviewing. We expect to get an additional batch of documents this week. You also may have seen the news this past week about Vince forcing himself back onto the board, along with a major board shakeup. As a result, we believe that there's enough of a basis to bring a breach of fiduciary lawsuit. We hope to file a complaint against McMahon and possibly other directors or officers for breaching their duties to WWE and its shareholders. We should have a draft in the next few days, and it goes on with some personal information there. But Vince McMahon forcing himself back into the company because he was of the mistaken opinion this whole thing would blow over by now, it has not blown over. And sure, you knew it was going to happen at some point. Like, it was impossible to believe that this man whose life revolved around working for 40 to 50 years, that he was suddenly just going to step away quietly. It was not going to happen here. And we all kind of knew this. So Friday was the day when Vince officially forced himself back onto the board. He resumed the role as executive chairperson. When they filed an SEC filing confirming that Vince is officially back with the company, and 3 other existing seat holders were ousted and 2 others resigned. Let's see here. Today we announced that the founder of WWE, Vince McMahon, will be returning to the board. We also welcome back Michelle Wilson and George Barrios to our board of directors. Together, we look forward to exploring all strategic alternatives to maximize shareholder value. As Vince McMahon stated yesterday, WWE has an exceptional management team in place, and I do not intend for my return to have any impact on their roles, duties, or responsibilities. Let's going through here. As I'm going through this, by the way, the 3 that were removed were Joe Ellen Lyons Dillon, Jeffrey R. Speed, and Alan M. Wexler. The 2 that resigned, I'm probably going to mispronounce this name, Ignis Lahode and Manjeet Singh, also resigned. So it wasn't even Stephanie that resigned. So the board, as we know it as of this moment, is Vince, Nick Khan, Paul Levesque, Steve Koonin, Michelle McKenna, Steve Pammon, George Barrios, and Michelle Wilson. And Vince came in, he changed several company bylaws, one of which included the requirement that any media deals or company sale had to be approved by him. And actually, these filings and exchanges actually began back to December 20th. Vince justified his return and his full confidence in the current executive team in a letter that he sent out. A few things listed here were: now that the completion of the special committee investigation has been publicly disclosed, I believe WWE has a unique opportunity during this critical juncture to maximize value for its shareholders and all other stakeholders. Specifically, given the rapidly evolving media landscape in which more and more companies are seeking to own the IP offered on their streaming platforms, I firmly believe the best thing to do for all of WWE shareholders and other stakeholders is to undertake a comprehensive review of strategic alternatives. I am confident that our other shareholders will support this decision. As you know, the media rights subject to the upcoming negotiations are critical to any strategic alternative consideration, and therefore the 2 initiatives must occur in parallel fashion. By combining a review of strategic alternatives with the media rights negotiations, our company can make better, more well-informed, and faster decisions. Moreover, any party that engages in strategic discussions with WWE will want to be assured that I, as controlling shareholder, am aligned with the decision-making process. In other words, we must unify the company's decision-making regarding those 2 interconnected initiatives to fully capitalize on this unique opportunity. I want to be very clear that I wholeheartedly believe that WWE has an exceptional management team in place. Stephanie, Nick, Paul, and the rest of the management team have my full and unconditional support, and as executive chairman, I would support them to facilitate unified, efficient, and effective decision-making during this important period in company history. An announcement that I'm rejoining the board as executive chairman provides a natural opportunity for WWE to announce its intention to engage in a strategic review process. In light of the timing of the media rights cycle, it's important to finalize my return to WWE as soon as possible. Accordingly, I would request to hear back from you by 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday, January 3rd. So obviously, this letter was sent out, as we mentioned, back in December. And the board responded and were open to working with Vince, but not for the return he wanted due to the government investigations, um, which included, the following experts in the letter that they responded with. With respect to your suggestion regarding a process to evaluate strategic alternatives and your role in the process, we are prepared to initiate such a process and are happy to work with you to ensure that is the best process for the company and all of its shareholders. Indeed, we would welcome you and your advisors playing an important part in the process, including working together to identify the full range of potential alternatives and counterparties. To that end, we suggest that your bankers and lawyers meet with our bankers and lawyers in the first week of January to discuss how to best move forward together with this process. Although we welcome your participation in the launch of the Strategic Alternatives Review process, it is also our unanimous view that your return to the company at this time, while government investigations into your conduct by the U.S. Attorney's Office and SEC are still pending, would not be prudent from a shareholder value perspective. This determination is based on a variety of factors, including non-public information the board has become aware of and the risks to the company and its shareholders of placing a greater spotlight on these issues. The attached draft letter agreement provides the board will not agree to the shareholder demand that the company file suit against you on the conditions you confirm your commitment to repay all of the investigation-related expenses incurred by the company, and that you agree not to serve as an officer, director, or employee of the company during the pendency of the government investigations. Those conditions and the draft letter agreement reflecting such conditions were unanimously approved by the board prior to receiving your letter of December 20th and were reaffirmed unanimously subsequent to that date. Vince then replied via email on December 31st. And I got to say, I can only imagine Vince sending out emails and, text messages and things of the sort. But, here we are. And it's one of those, I got to say, everyone loves a good mudslinging story and a good back and forth. But, this is a company with a lot of people's lives, on the line here. A lot of people, are, trying to keep their jobs. They want all these people that WWE just hired back after Vince left. How many of them right now are starting to look at those contracts and starting to make contacts outside to see if they still have a safety net to land on? I appreciate your timely response to my December 20 letter. However, it is surprising that you did not address what I sought to make clear in my letter, namely that we have a unique but narrow window of opportunity to maximize shareholder value by combining the upcoming media rights negotiations with a strategic review process the board acknowledges is the right course of action for our shareholders, and that the only way to fully capture that opportunity is by having me, the company's founder and controlling shareholder, to return as executive chairman at this critical time so I can work alongside the management team to unify the decision making related to these two interconnected initiatives. I would like to be clear that unless I have direct involvement and input as executive chairman from the outset, I will not be able to support or approve any media rights deals or strategic transitions, including any commitments made by or on behalf of the company regarding a potential transaction or process. This position is not driven by self-interest or a lack of confidence in the company's management team, but rather my commitment to doing what's best for WWE and its shareholders, and by my strong belief that maximizing the outcome of these processes will require close coordination and unified and efficient decision making. I sincerely hope we can work together to unlock this tremendous value potential. Regarding the shareholder demand letter, I'm glad to learn that the following easy for me to say. I'm glad to learn that following a review of the shareholder demand, the board has determined that the demand does not warrant any further legal action. However, it is unfortunate that the board would seek to use this conclusion to attempt to extract an agreement from me not to return to the company. Any construct along those lines is entirely unacceptable, especially in light of the critical inflection points now facing the company. I would also like to clarify that my intention is to avoid the creation of any conflict of interest related to the special committee's investigation or related matters because of my return to the board. As executive chairman and consistent with my prior actions, I would not I would not interfere with any government investigations or the special committees and independent directors process in cooperating with those or related investigations and would fully support. As I previously conveyed, I also remain willing to continue working to finalize my reimbursement of the company for its reasonable expenses incurred related to the investigation by and findings of the special committee to the extent not covered by insurance. So, yeah, Vince has been planning for a long time his response to get back into the company. And in some ways, it's shocking that he actually waited, more than 5 months to do it, and this is after, WWE has had a great upswing since July. Say what you want, creative has been on point more often than not. The company has direction. The future is looking pretty good. And we're now sitting here and we still have Vince just standing over us, hovering over us like a dark cloud. And he is, you get the feeling that, if he's going down, he's taking everybody and everything with him. Um, so that was Friday. Well, that was Friday morning. Friday afternoon, WWE held a meeting with all the employees, so not the wrestlers, just the employees, basically saying that nothing would change in day-to-day operations. And of course, nobody believed that, but it sounds good. Tell the people, hey, everything's staying the same. We're all one big happy family. WWE stock continued to go up. Earlier today, it closed, it was just above $90. I think it was like $90.22 or so. And then Stephanie quit. And now I think most of us would agree that it's, 90.24, by the way, $90.24. I think most of us would agree that the main reason why the main reason why it was continuing to go up was because of the rumors of the company being sold. And I do have to apologize because I do have a bit of a cold and I'm trying to mute myself to cough. And so this episode, especially when I was reading off those emails and whatnot, it might be a little disjointed as I try to edit out, me hacking up a storm. But, hopefully hopefully it's still fun to listen to. Well, as fun as you can have listening to me recap a nearly 80-year-old man who was forced to retire out of shame, forcing himself back into the company. And by the way, when Stephanie stepped down, Nick Khan was named the solo CEO of the company. Vince has officially been named chairman of the board. They went ahead and had the official vote to put him back into that spot. WWE did release a WWE did put out a press release basically stating that Stephanie has resigned, Nick Khan is now the CEO, and Vince has been unanimously elected executive chairman of the board. Of course, if it's a unanimous vote of 6 people, three of which were Vince, George Barrios, and Michelle Wilson. The fourth was Nick Khan, who, I don't know, maybe the guy has more of a spine than you think, but the fourth was Nick Khan, and the guy, doesn't have the best reputation, we'll say, and this definitely seems like something that he would have just guessed no matter who it was. And then so you ended up with Triple H and that one other board member who was left, and it's like you might as well just go along with it, dude, because it's going to happen whether you want it to or not. And that is this week in WWE. What does this mean going forward? What does this mean for the stock price tomorrow? Does Wall Street really care? You know, the you could argue that they really don't care since Vince coming back in theory should have dropped the stock price, but the rumors of a possible sale made it go up. Oh, and by the way, WWE has hired JP Morgan to facilitate talks of a sale, and uh people don't typically hire, serious banks like JP Morgan if they're not serious about thinking about a sale. And so maybe a sale happens. Maybe maybe it's a sale to Vince. And this has been brought up a couple times where it's possible that Vince just buys the company back himself, takes it public, or I'm sorry, takes it private, and this way he doesn't have to worry about answering to shareholders or, having to deal with, all these boards of directors and, SEC violations and God knows what else. He can just take it all back inside and never ever have to worry about any of his nasty, disgusting behavior affecting the company ever again. And maybe that's what the plan is. And, you know, all I can tell you is that if my passion for WWE was low earlier, it is pretty much in the toilet at this point. WWE, like Vince is gonna do what's best for Vince McMahon. It doesn't matter what anybody else wants or thinks. And you know something? It's his company. So if he wants to kill it and say that, this is for the best, then by all means, let him do it. But you know something? The rest of us don't have to sit here and put up with it. The rest of us don't have to sit here and support it. WrestleMania has sold 100,000 tickets over 2 nights. And has sold over $17 million of ticket sales. And at the end of the day, for what? For what? It's like it's like when, transgender people and LGBT people continue to buy Harry Potter stuff. You are giving the problem the money. And you can argue, oh, well, we're shoving the J.K. Rowling because, she's got to she's got to take money from the LGBT community. She does not care. And Vince does not care. Like, if you're sitting here, if you have subscription to WWE Network or to Peacock, or if you buy tickets to the shows, heck, if you bought tickets to any show in the last 6 months because you want to support Triple H and Stephanie, guess what? That was all money going into Vince's pocket. And I'm just as guilty as the rest of y'all because I bought tickets to Survivor Series. I you know, did this without even, blinking twice, and we're all at fault. And like I said a few weeks ago, we could do it where not a single one of us ever buys a ticket anymore. Not a single one of us ever buys merchandise anymore. And you know something? NBC and Fox will continue to give them $1 billion each, and the company will still survive. Like the smartest thing WWE ever did. I always thought the smartest thing they ever did was making WWE the star as opposed to making, one or two top name wrestlers the star. But that's not really what happened here. What uh what happened was that, you know, Vince the sort of thing Vince ever did was get people to convince these TV networks that they needed him more than he needed them. Because it wasn't that long ago. It was like, what, 2005 when they jumped back to USA, when they were only getting $28 million a year. And, after that, they did another deal that wasn't that big, and another deal that wasn't that big. It wasn't until like 2014 that all this planning, you know, to get these huge right deals started coming out, because that was when they got the USA deal for like $100 million a year for a few years and all that. And then we ended up with this current deal where NBC's paying him $1 billion, Fox is paying him $1 billion. And he is smart enough that if all he has is $2 billion, he'll find a way to make money. He'll cut everybody on the goddamn roster and give us pay-per-view main events of, Otis versus R-Truth, and he'll still make all the money in the world, and he won't even bat an eye about it. And if you think that matters to him, try again. He will cut everybody in his way. He'll cut all their throats and not think twice about it. And anybody who thinks differently, I'm sorry, you're wrong. You know? And at this point, Vince's wife has left him and left the company. Vince's son left the company more than a decade ago. Vince's daughter's now left the company. The only McMahon in the company right now is Vince McMahon. For the first time since he bought the company from his dad in '82, there is not a second McMahon in this company. The closest he has, is Hunter. And let's be honest, how long is Hunter going to stick around, you think? I, you know, when does Vince take over creative, you think? You know, I was reading somebody says Royal Rumble. I give him by WrestleMania. And to be perfectly honest, I give him until then to be back on camera. And I don't doubt for 1 second that Vince is gonna take back over the entire company again. And if the whole thing burns to the ground, then he'll let it burn to the ground. And that's all I'm gonna say about this. I went on for over half an hour. Hopefully I didn't have to cough the entire time to get to that half an hour. But I've got some good news. And before I talk about my good news, I'm just going to refresh and make sure there's no new news about this before I move on. Doesn't appear so. All right, so let's talk about some fun news. And I'll be perfectly honest here. There's probably going to be some people listening to this that don't care or, whatever. Just turn the show off then. That's all I'll say then. But for now, so I got some really big news today myself, and no, it wasn't that I got a call to take over Stephanie McMahon's job as CEO. Um, I got a call today from the Boston Medical Center Transgender Clinic in Boston, obviously. And so we have set up my consultation for a vaginoplasty. It's going to be on February 9th. And for those of you who don't understand what that means, it's bottom surgery. You know, I'm going to take my private parts and remake them. And I'll let you figure out from there because I don't think I'd really have to keep going. But, it's a pretty obvious thing to figure out. Uh, so yeah, I've been on hormones, for those wondering. I've been on hormones, HRT, since March 19th, 2019. But again, who's counting the days? Um, I do have a consultation for top surgery in March at the same clinic in Boston, and we'll see what happens. Like so far, 2023 has been really good to me, and I'm hoping that it continues to be this good. And I know a lot of people out there are incredibly supportive of this. If you're listening to this show, which the what you call it, the logo for the show has a transgender flag and the asexual flag for KJ. Like, if you're listening to this and not realizing that something is up LGBTQ wise, well, I guess it's time to educate yourself here. But yeah, so this is some super exciting news for me. And and in case you're curious, it's just a consultation. I'm not having surgery on February 9th. You know, who knows, like, what's going to happen is we're going to discuss what the plan of action is. And I don't know if we'll actually set a date or not, but we're going to discuss the next steps. And we're going to go from there. And I'm really freaking excited for this. If you're listening to this and think I'm a swell person, you should be really excited for it too. Because Lord knows I am. And, it's been something, it's a long time coming. I'm 38 years old. It has taken this long for my body to match my brain. And I'm just jumping for joy right now. So that went quicker than I thought it would. I thought it'd be closer to an hour for this show. So let's see here. I did have, something planned here for Weird News of the Week. And, after everything Vince related for the first 30 minutes of the show, who thought we would need some Weird News of the Week? But, I think we need some fun here to end the show this week. So it's time for Weird News of the Week, presented by Nobody. Nobody, the company that sponsors nothing. And we go to NBC15.com. The Portage Public Works cleans melted butter from canal after dairy processing plant fire. This is in Portage, Wisconsin. The City of Portage Public Works contained and cleaned melted butter that leaked into a canal after a massive dairy processing plant fire. The Portage Canal runs between Gary Rebel's home and the Associated Milk Producers Inc. plant, where a fire took place inside a room where butter is stored. Rebel smelled burning butter and noticed the fire at 9 p.m. on Monday. We were worried about the embers catching this old building on fire, Rebel said, adding that he couldn't sleep Tuesday night as the flames grew across the canal. Portage Public Works Director Philip Livingston confirmed the flames caused the butter to melt, leak into the public storm sewer system, and into the canal. He said firefighters noticed the spill and contained the butter to one section of the canal using turbidity currents. Turbidity? Oh boy. We were notified as soon as the event took place to start the remediation process at that point, Livingston said. The butter is an organic material, so there's no immediate concern as any harm to the environment itself. It's just a matter of removing that contained substance. His team assessed the spill and then hired plumbing crew to use a vector truck and remove most of the butter from the canal's surface area Tuesday afternoon. So, oh boy, that was that butter. Butter in a canal. I gotta say, that's a new one here, folks. And you know something? I think we better wrap this thing up here. I think I only went about 40 minutes, and so I can stop coughing and sneezing on air. That I'll have to go back and edit out. I think once I take out all the coughing and sneezing, the show will be like 7 minutes long. So I hope you enjoyed the 7 minutes of the show. Uh, but yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the ball is in your court. Everything is in your hand. If you want to not support WWE anymore, it's simple. Stop supporting them. And I'm not saying if you continue to support, you're supporting Vince McMahon, but I'm saying a lot of people say a lot of things on the internet. And of course, no one ever means what they say and says what they mean. But I'm telling you, you have a choice. You can decide to not support this. But if you do, no harm, no foul. But, don't be afraid to take a stand of your own. But I want to thank everybody for listening. Was a little bit different of a show than we do normally. Hopefully, we'll be back with a normal show next week. But until then, thank you to everyone for listening and have a great rest of your week.